can. And I encourage you to expose those places that don't get exposed to the sunlight, but please don't get arrested on my account. There are other factors too to do with cooking our foods which reduce our ability to get oxygen around our body. When we subject fats to heat, we also find significant changes take place. In fact, playing around with heat and fats is the most dangerous thing that one can do in terms of affecting nutrients by the application of heat. You know, when fats are subjected to heat, something is created. It's actually acrolein or acrylic acid and produces acrolein gas. And this substance is known to be a carcinogen. And for those of you who don't know what carcinogens are, they are things that can contribute to causing or cause exclusively in and of themselves unnatural, normal, and unhealthful cellular behavior. In other words, cause cancer. Now, in the scientific community, carcinogens are classified in many, many different groups, according to whether it's only been proven that they're carcinogen in animals, or it's proven that they're carcinogen in people, but unfortunately the study group was too small, there were too many variables, it's not conclusive. There's endless categories. But this particular substance is known and has been known for years in the scientific community to be in the group of carcinogens that is classified, there is no doubt this causes cancer in humans. And yet it was only a couple of months ago that for the first time in England I caught sight of a billboard, a newspaper headline. It said, "Carcinogens found in cooked food." So I stood there and I went, pinch. Look again. And it really was there. So, of course, I picked up this newspaper and teaching what myself and others of us here I know have been teaching for years. Heating fats results in them becoming carcinogenic. But more to the point, when you heat fats, they become sticky. And when fats become sticky and you've got sticky fats going around in your blood, it has a habit of causing your blood cells to stick together. We really don't want that happening. I mean, they're designed to stick together when we cut ourselves to form a scab to prevent us bleeding to death, but having them stick together inside our bodies is not what we want. And of course, when they stick together, their overall surface area is reduced, and therefore our oxygen carrying capacity is reduced. You might be thinking, well, that's okay then. As long as I don't heat fats and heat proteins, I can heat everything else. What I encourage you to realize is that foods are categorized according to what they have the greatest quantity of in terms of nutrients. A banana isn't classed as a fat food. Even a fat banana isn't called a fat food. They're classified as carbohydrates because that's what they contain the most of. But even bananas have traces of fat. Every food that you will consume on the diet that you are pursuing, which I'm assuming doesn't consist of pure alcohol or simple straight refined sugar or other such things, your diet is going to contain fat and protein in every single thing that you eat to some degree, greater or lesser. So effectively, anything in your diet that you cook or you subject to heat, you are raising the likelihood of you getting cancer manyfold. You are reducing your ability to get oxygen around your brain, which means that you will not be able to fully think clearly. You will not be able to have good academic cognitive thought processing. You will be reduced in your capacity to perform athletically. Now, none of these three things sound awfully appealing to me. I'm thinking, do I really want to be sort of cancerous and stupid and sedentary? I don't think so. I think I want to be physically active and intelligent and have very healthy cells. So there's a lot of implications there that we might not have realized before. But you know, there's a further implication. I'm sure that many of you chose the path that went from vegetarian to vegan to raw to hygiene. Maybe some of you purely went standard American diet, hygiene. My hat, if I were wearing one, would go off to you. Mostly we pass through those various stages. And as we pass through those stages, what we find is that generally speaking, the digestive challenge on the body becomes progressively lighter. Not only because we're moving from cooked to raw, but because we're moving from very complex combinations of foods to simpler combinations. We're moving from very heavy intensities of non-foods such as pesticides and additives and preservatives and flavorings and colorings, and the list is endless, to a purer diet. The digestive task becomes easier. Now, I don't know how familiar you're feeling with your nervous system at this point, because Dr. Vetrano explained it so exquisitely for us today in her wonderful lecture about nervous energy. And I would just like to bring you back to a thought on that for a moment, that every second of your life, your brain is in communication with the cells of your body, and the cells of your body in communication with your brain via this incredible giant telephone network we call the nervous system. In fact, if I were to take away from you every part of you, including your flesh and your organs and your bones and your muscles and everything, and just left your nervous system, I would still see you sitting there. I would see the contours of your face even, because that's how extensive this telephone network is. Now, in order for our bodies to function, we must have nervous energy traveling up and down our nervous system. But the thing about it is that your nervous system, although it is controlling and dictating and coordinating and moderating numerous lesser tasks in your body every second of the day, when it comes to the really big jobs, the nervous system is best off focusing on one thing at a time. And I would like to share with you a little story of something that actually did happen to me that was, again, I'm really good at creating embarrassing situations for myself. I was actually in my car driving up to teach my students at Middlesex University in London, and I was on this road called the M25. We could nickname it the car park, because usually when you're on it you don't move much. And it just so happened on this occasion they diverted us off this motorway into the back streets of Hertfordshire because there'd been an accident. Now, this, for those of you who know Hertfordshire, it's an interesting place. Almost every road has hedges you can't see over either side of the road. Plus the fact that people in Hertfordshire, I think, pride themselves on not using signposts. So here you are inside this maze. It almost felt like I was back in the Alice in Wonderland scenario. And I have to confess, as dangerous and unfocused as it might have been, I was eating a banana at the time. And this has relevance, of which you will find out in a moment. So there I was in my car, off the motorway, into these complex back streets, didn't know where I was going. I thought I'd better pick up my car phone, call my head of department and explain why I'm going to be late. I also better pull a map out of the glove compartment, which, yes, in my country it is on this side. What happened was, I actually stuck the banana in my ear. I spoke. No, hang on, let me get this right. I didn't speak into the phone, let me put it that way. I bit onto the phone, okay, thinking it was the banana. And I smashed into the back of the car in front, and it cost me about $1,500 worth of damage. And it dawned on me then, I thought, you know, it's so like the body. You can't do more than one thing at a time really effectively. Now, the fact of it is that if you put a significant digestive challenge inside your body's nervous system will not be able to, at the same time, conduct emotions. Because the conduction of emotions takes an enormous amount of the focus of your nervous system, enormous amount of the attention and electrical charge of your nervous system. For those of you who've ever been extremely distressed or upset about something, which I can only assume is just about everybody here, did you not find that you slept extensively after that distress? Yeah? Ever noticed a child go to a party and get really excited and then come home and sleep extensively? Conducting emotions is very, very draining on our nervous system. People say eating food gives you energy. Well, you know, we can just fall for that one, or we can start to think about that for a moment. Hang on a minute. If food gives you energy, surely then after Thanksgiving, which is the biggest, most intensely calorie-rich and nutrient-rich meal of the day and complex of the day, of the whole year, why doesn't everyone just leap up and say, who wants to go running or swimming or rollerblading or cycling? I've got so much energy, I just don't know what to do with it. Nobody does that. What they do is They have their belly resting on their thighs at the table. And then with an inordinate effort, they get themselves up and they stagger as far as the couch. They sit down, they pick up the remote control, and they press the button. And if you're in England, and what happens is we have this movie that's shown with incredible regularity. It's called The Sound of Music. You know that one? It's amazing. Love the movie, actually. Love the movie. That's a story for another day. Anyway, so there we are. We've switched the remote on. And good old Maria von Trapp, she starts to warble, "The hills are alive." And the next thing you know, the person's going... That, I've discovered, is the reason they keep showing the darn movie. No one's ever seen the end. No one's seen the end of it. Nobody knows what happens to the Von Trapps because the digestive task put them to sleep. Food doesn't give you energy. It drains your nervous system. And it's for this reason that what we find is that when we place a significant digestive task upon the body, that it simply cannot rise to the challenge of conducting emotions at the same time. And we literally and physiologically can eat ourselves into a state of emotional numbness. Now let's think about this. If we were weaned, which many people still aren't and never will be, from breast milk, but for those of us who were, we actually made that shift onto the standard foods of our culture and society. And those standard foods were abominable combinations of non-foods that had no place inside the human body in the first place, plus they'd been subjected to heat and had the additional accompaniment of additives and pesticides and other poisons. Think of the enormity of the digestive challenge of your body to separate the useful from the dangerous, to eliminate what was threatening its integrity, and to make best use of the damaged remains. Think of that enormous challenge and how that challenge did not ever allow a person to emote and express emotions. 3, 4, 5 times a day, people were placing this challenge upon their system. 3, 4, 5 times a day, it was dulling their ability to feel. And because of the application of heat on those fats and proteins, it reduced their ability to oxygenate their bodies, and it reduced their ability to think. So we have people growing up who can't feel and can't think because of their diet. And as we pass through vegetarian, we pass through vegan, we pass through raw, we embrace hygiene, we find the digestive task gets progressively lighter and easier and purer. And lo and behold, what do we find? We start to feel for the first time. And I can honestly tell you, in my experience as a healthful living consultant, that the number one reason, without any question in my mind, that people do not adhere to the diet they intend to is because they cannot feel. They don't want to feel. They avoid feeling. They can cope with feeling for a couple of days at a time. Oh, I did it for a whole week. I was raw for a whole week, but now I have to eat cooked because I'm feeling too much. And they go back and they eat the cooked. Let me tell you this. There is a truth that I have come to discover. And that truth is that if you seriously want to embrace a raw regimen in your life, dietary-wise, if you seriously want to embrace the concept of eating really simple, of those exquisitely beautiful raw plant-based foods that we are biologically, anatomically, and physiologically designed for, then it is absolutely paramount, necessary, and in fact, inescapable as a fact, that you need to be equally willing to embrace your emotions. You cannot consume that type of diet and remain emotionally numb. When it comes to being emotionally numb, and when it comes to feeling, I would always prefer to feel. I don't know about you, but to me, living a life of emotional numbness isn't living. It is actually curtailing. It is actually being submissive to the dictation of the mass perception that we need to be kept numbed in order to be controlled. To me, there is a very distinct connection between the cooked food diet and the suppression of the feminine spirit. To me, that is a big key in the door to liberation and freedom of the human species. I have a personal vision that I would like to share with you, if you would do me that honor. And I assure you, it truly is an honor, because it is a vision that burns like a fire in the very center of who I am. And that is a vision that takes me way beyond the personal, takes me way beyond my own individual health. It is actually a vision that embraces us all in our exquisite oneness, and beyond that, every other life form with whom we share this planet. And beyond that, to our mother, the planet herself. And what I see is I see an incredible opportunity. I see that in my lifetime, I have the wonderful, rich gift of being able to seize the moment in the whole history of the human species, to be able to actually participate in this incredible opportunity for true liberation and freedom. To free everything, to free ourselves, to free the animals from their slavery, from their misery and their torture, to free women from their torture and their misery and their suppression, and for us all to unite together as a great